Jenai M. Marek, and I am suffering the winter freeze that's coming here in Texas, which is really unusual, and I'm doing the best I can to survive it. Now, what I want to do is talk about really not talk about anything, but more like respond to everybody else that's been in right up our alley so far. So I'm actually going to first respond to Jack.
So this is a tour of my bookshelf and a tour of all the books in my bedroom.
He did this brilliant video about his shelf, which I'm super jealous of because, as some of you know, my house got hit very hard by Hurricane Harvey, and I'm actually standing right in front of my front door, which is right behind me. And it's being rebuilt right now. Yeah, so let's go on into my house, and then I will respond to Jack's shelf by explaining what I have going on here. So, oh, they locked both locks. Give me 1 second. It's getting repainted. We'll pretty much have floors now. Yeah, this is my house, what it looks like right now. And this has a lot to do with my writing, because this is actually why I'm about 4 months behind on the novel I'm currently working on. And in response to Jack Dowd's video about his brilliant shelf, which I'm, again, super jealous of, I had a bunch of my books on my bookshelves in my office, which we're going to right now. And I will kind of show you what it looks like back in here. So this is my office, and in that closet right there I had a bunch of books, and on the desk that used to be right there I had a bunch of books that were destroyed by floodwaters because we had 27 inches of water in the house. And oh, it's kind of echoey in here. So yeah, as soon as my house is rebuilt, I will be rebuilding my book collection. Really looking forward to that. This is literally, that corner right there is literally where I wrote The Dangerous Voyage of Gut the Sailor at my office desk. And I am just super excited to get my house back together, my workspace back together. This is my sanctuary right here, and I just can't wait until it's back together. And then everybody's talking, not everybody, but Persephone, Jane, and Jessica had been talking about world building, and I'm over here just trying to rebuild my world, but this is my bedroom, what's left of it and what's being rebuilt of it. So yeah, I'm just trying to get back on my feet right now, and this is what we got going on. So as far as world building goes, to kind of respond to Persephone and Jessica,
today I'm going to be talking about world building.
And today we're going to talk about 5 questions that you should answer when you are world building.
I too have to create worlds for Gut the Sailor because, as some of you know, I elected not to write The Dangerous Voyage of Gut the Sailor in the world that we live in, but to create a world. And mostly I did that because in The Dangerous Voyage of Gut the Sailor, there's actually a villain in the book who is a priest. And because I didn't want to make any political or religious statements, I decided, rather than offend anyone from a particular culture or country or religious background, if I created my own world, I could have villains from these places without anybody accusing me of making any greater political or religious statements. So that was actually the thought process behind why I chose to create a fantasy world for my pirate story. So there's that. And you know, I could probably go ahead and talk a little bit about how I develop my characters now, but I'm not going to do that in my house because it's really cold. I'm going to go back in the trailer, which is parked right outside on my front lawn. So let's just kind of right over there.
All right, welcome to my trailer. This is actually the front end of the trailer where the bedroom is. I would film in the main part, like at the table or something where I've filmed before, but my husband is actually home today from work because of the ice storm that Texas is currently having right now, and it is too dangerous for most Texans to actually be out on the road. So I'm here to talk about how I build my characters like I had been promising to do for the last several weeks. As Persephone Jane said,
in honor of light coming back to warm our planet, I thought I'd shed a little bit of light on character banks. Do you have one? Do you maintain one? Do you just keep it in the back of your brain and hope that when you need it, it will present itself to you?
Okay, I myself have never used a character bank, but I love the idea. That is so cool, and I might actually start doing that from now on. When I wrote The Dangerous Voyage of Gup the Sailor, of course, I wrote it for my son, so I wanted the character to be someone he can relate to, hence he is named Gup, which is the nickname I've given my son, and the character in the novel is also named Elliot, that's his birth name, which happens to be my son's birth name. But when it came to the other characters, I like to give names that fit the character's personality. For example, Captain Keelhaul. If you don't know what keelhaul means in pirate lingo, when you keelhaul somebody, you know how pirates, everybody talks about walking the plank as the big punishment? That doesn't even come close to what keelhauling is. A captain will literally tie a man up by the ankles, throw him over the bow or the stern of the ship, and drag them under the entire boat, or they'll throw them over on the starboard or the port side, drag them under the boat, and the water or suffocating or drowning is not what kills the person. No, it's actually the barnacles on the ship literally shred the body into pieces. That's what keel hauling is when you literally haul someone across the keel of a boat. It is a brutal, graphic, gory, horrible death, and to have a villain as evil and heartless as Captain Keelhaul is, I needed him to have a name that just screamed terror. So that's how he got the name Captain Keelhaul. Now, of course, if you've read my book, you know that Keelhaul is a nickname. And his character name is Franz Kappa. Now, I chose Franz Kappa because I actually modeled his likeness after Frank Zappa, and so I just kind of tweaked the name a bit because I didn't want to name him Frank Zappa, obviously, even though he looks pretty much just like the guy. But if you know anything about Japanese lore, Kappa means water demon. So we've got a pirate with a water demon last name who is nicknamed Keelhaul, and that's kind of how I developed that character. I wanted him to be brutal, I wanted him to be heartless, but there's another interesting trait about this character. I wanted him to also be very intelligent, thoughtful, and crafty. I didn't just pull this name out of nowhere. I sat for a long time thinking, how am I going to name this character? What is going to pay homage to his personality, to his craftiness, and his diabolicalness? So that's there. But on the flip side of that, I had a character, his first mate, who is just a very rough, tough, kind of simple character, but and this is Mr. Purple. And for the longest time, I couldn't think of what name to give him. He, in my manuscript, for about the majority of the book, his name was actually just First Mate. Like, I just left it in as First Mate. I didn't give him a name at all. And when I first started writing the book, my dad, Elliot, my son's grandfather, had come to visit, and I know this is really awkward, but if you had seen the commercial on TV where a woman goes into the paint shop and she's like,
"So I'm looking for a purple, but not like the purple, but more like a purple." Know what I mean?
well, this commercial was so hilarious to my dad, who is the king of dad jokes, by the way. He would rock around going, purple, 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 making all different varieties of the word purple to indicate the different shades. Well, of course, my toddler son thought that was hilarious. So much so that he started calling Grandpa Max Purple Max, because he couldn't quite say the word grandpa, but he heard the word purple so frequently in the house that instead of saying Grandpa Max, he started saying Purple Max. Well, I was struggling so hard to think of a good name for Captain Keelhaul's first mate that I just gave up and said, you know what, I'm naming him Mr. Purple, because that was the running joke in the house, and so that is literally why Mr. Purple's name is Purple. And so you can look at my character naming from everything from very highly thought out to giving up and going with an inside joke. That's how I do characterization right now, but for future novels, I think I'm going to start a character bank myself, and I really recommend that concept. I can't believe I never thought of it myself. I went to college for creative writing. We never once talked about that in any of my classes. I was the biggest English and lit nerd in high school, and not one of my teachers discussed that. I am so surprised I have gone 30 plus, I'm not telling you the exact number, years of my life, never hearing of a character bank before. So kudos to both Persephone and to Jessica, because I know she mentioned it to me as well. And I'm going to leave this off here, but thank you everybody for tuning in this time, and I will see you on my next Thursday.
I too can command the wind, sir! I have a hurricane in me that will strip Spain bare if you dare to try me!
I'm looking for a purple, but not like a purple, more like a purple.